According to the Environmental Protection Agency, one lawnmower pollutes the same amount of emissions in 1 hour of use that a car does driving for 45 miles. Not only can lawns be a massive detriment to human health, but they can have severely negative impacts on the environment too. Even if industry safety standards are followed to a T, this doesn't fully mitigate environmental harm. But why does the health of our natural world matter so much?
Most people think nature is interesting and it's fun to visit, but it's not essential. It is essential. It's essential because it is nature, it is functioning ecosystems that produce the life support that keeps us on this planet. The impacts are not immediate, but we're seeing them. We've lost 3 billion breeding birds in the last 50 years. We do have global insect decline. The latest study I saw said we lost 75% of our insects. If we lose insects, you lose 90% of the flowering plants that are out there. And if that happens, food webs collapse. We'll lose all the animals. And the only thing recycling nutrients will be bacteria and fungi. So the earth will kind of rot. And none of these things are options if humans want to stick around in any kind of a healthy way. So we've got 135 million acres of residential landscapes in this country. If they were all landscaped with biodiversity in mind, we wouldn't have a biodiversity crisis.
Not only does the mass presence of monocultural lawns diminish ecosystem biodiversity, but lawn runoff such as pesticides, herbicides, and nutrients can wreak havoc on ecosystems and create wildlife and human health risks. Some may rely on the notion that water treatment centers can filter out contaminants. However, most do not have the ability to filter them out, allowing these pollutants to seep into major waterways and even drinking water.
Most wastewater treatment plants do not have nitrogen and phosphorus removal limits on their permit. It's an environmental problem. So basically what's happening right now is they're more or less passed through. We have a treatment plant that's not designed for the removal. Maybe things do get removed slightly just from our natural treatment process and be regulated for the removal of nitrogen and phosphorus. However, the greater challenge and the bigger polluter is often coming from non-point source dischargers. They're more difficult to regulate. A common example are grass yards. When people spread the beaded fertilizer all over the place, that can make its way to street inlets, make its way to streams, and contribute as well. So golf course is another one. They're big water users, which is a problem in certain areas of the country. But also they're not called greens for nothing. And they use a lot of liquid fertilizers to keep their grass growing, and that has all the sheet flow contamination, just like farms do. And then obviously rains, the water flows over the land, picks up some of that fertilizer and that nutrients, and it sheets over the land, or it goes down to the groundwater table, makes its way to the creek, which makes its way to the river, which makes its way into the Mississippi Delta or the Chesapeake Bay. And it builds up the presence of nitrogen and phosphorus in our water bodies. That's unfortunate because usually that's the limiting component for the growth of algae. I'm sure you've heard of algae blooms. And when this algae grows in shallow, clear water, it's got sunlight, it's got nutrients, it grows all this algae, and when that algae dies and starts decaying, it absorbs all of the oxygen in the waterway. So it creates dead zones for wildlife. So that's when fish and wildlife start dying.